Okay, we are back with something a little bit different today. I'm not going to be doing a toilet paper review. I know some of you guys are looking for that. Not happening today. Get this out of the way. We are not, and we are unofficially sponsored by Corona Extra. Delicious beer for you, your friends, and everybody in between. Not part of the virus. Should definitely invest in some Corona. Delicious, great tasting beer. Drink responsibly, be over the age of 18, all the good stuff, but enjoy this. Also, in this COVID world we are living in, I cannot stress enough how important it is to wash your hands. Hand sanitize as much as you can. Make sure you shower so you smell good around your family, friends, and whoever you are self-isolating with, whoever you're quarantining with, wash your hands. Wash yourself, have a shower. Make sure if you do go out in public that you are diligent with not spreading the potential virus, COVID-19. Wash your hands. Today, we have some crazy news. I'm looking this way because my computer is here. So if you see me looking off, I'm looking at what is going on. Today, Prime Minister Trudeau announced there is an $82 billion COVID-19 emergency response package coming from the federal government. It is supposed to be for Canadians and businesses. Trudeau dropped this on March 18th today. And I want to just go over a few things in real time, sort of what's going on, what I think they're doing, and maybe what you can do in response to this. So the package includes $27 billion in direct support, another $55 billion to help businesses and their liquidity throughout the next couple of months. I think this is going to go on longer than that, but that's what they're talking about. This represents more than 3% of Canada's overall GDP. It's massive. It's a big budget to drop on Canadians, who ultimately, you and me, we're paying for it in taxes anyways. Deep spending will not drive the country into recession, says Trudeau, insisting prudent decisions made over the last 5 years have put Canada on a strong economic footing to weather this crisis. I don't know if we're dipping into the climate, what do we call it? The climate tax that's been put on gas. Escape me right now. I don't know if that's been set aside for reserves for anything. I don't know where the money's coming from. Ultimately, you and myself, the taxpayer, is going to end up footing this bill. But we're in Canada. We help our neighbors. We're good human beings. So this is part of being a Canadian. This support aim, what they're dropping, is to help Canada pay rent. Canadians pay rents, pay their mortgages, buy groceries, help businesses continue to meet payroll, pay bills. And basically, their overall plan is to try and stabilize the economy. Will it work? Is it going to happen? Probably not. It's not to be negative, but there are other implications that are going to come into play, which we can discuss in the meantime. The emergency aid plan includes a temporal boost to the Canada Child Benefit Plan. Basically, those payments, they're going to be delivering about $2 billion from this budget to that. A new emergency care benefit, which is going to basically give Canadians $900 bi-weekly, $450 a week, up to 15 weeks. So we're talking pretty much 3.5 months. That 15-week mark is extremely important. I want to stop, full stop. Extremely important. 15 weeks is what I think the federal government, along with a lot of other governments around the world, have earmarked how long this is going to play out. So that's 3.5 months, people. That's not like, let's go into hiding for 2 weeks, quarantine for 2 weeks, self-isolation for 2 weeks, and see what happens. I think we're going to be pushing 3, 4, and maybe even 5 months before we really start to see and get back to normality of life. Personal opinion. So $900 bi-weekly, $450 a week, up to 15 weeks to provide income support to workers, including, this is big, the self-employed who have, who have to stay home and don't qualify for paid sick leave or employment insurance. They basically set aside $10 billion for this fund. A new emergency support benefits provide $5 billion to support workers who are non-eligible for EI and are facing unemployment. That is self-employed people for the most part. A 6-month interest-free reprieve on student loan payments, so no payments for student loans. Doubling the homeless care program, extending the tax filing deadline to June 1st. Allowing taxpayers to defer tax payments until or after August 31st that are due today after today and before September. $305 million for new Indigenous Community Support Fund to address the immediate needs of First Nation, Inuit, and the I don't want to say this wrong, but the Métis Nation communities. Other measures include GST. They're going to do a little bit of a rollback credit or credit for low-income Canadians, and special support for the homeless and shelters. So all things that are really like good for Canadians. I have no problems with what they're doing. Excuse me. This is a massive dry cough. COVID? No, I've been coughing for like 5 months now. Trudeau has said there's a real desire among the other political parties to come out with a package. I think this will get pushed through Parliament very quickly. He held a call with the other leaders in the government, basically to address this. There are now 598 cases in Canada and 8 related deaths. There's a sharp increase, indicates a sharp rise number of cases, and it basically indicates that there is community spread going on, meaning like I get it and I'm passing it to somebody else. I didn't bring it from somewhere else. I've gotten it from somebody locally, community spread. Finance Minister Bill Morneau outlined details of the government measure. He said, and this is very important, the first phase of the planned measures, meaning I don't think this is the first amount of money that's going to be released. And in fact, I think they're going to be pumping money into the economy to try and keep our economy going. He says, and I quote, "Usually my job is to ensure we maintain our fiscal track. Right now, as the Minister of Finance, my only job is to make sure Canadians can keep food in the fridge, that they can keep a roof over their head, the lights on, sorry, he didn't say lights on, over their head, and can afford the medicine that they need, lights on, part of roof over their head." He goes on to say, "We've entered this challenge, excuse me, in a very strong fiscal position. Canada's balance sheet is the envy of the world." I don't think I would say that. I disagree 100%. It means we have the fiscal firepower to respond, and we are now prepared to use it. Just going through this. This article was found on CBC News, by the way. Last week, Trudeau pledged $1 billion for public health measures. The package includes $275 million for additional research, vaccine development, $200 million for federal medical supplies. Yeah, so 7 minutes and 30 seconds for me to get this out. The reality of this is we are all basically contracting right now as an economy, as people with work. There are still things going on. I actually have a meeting. It is 2:30. I have a meeting at 5 o'clock today to go over some plans for a project that is currently in process. I've got real estate deals that are closing this week and next week. Like, life is going on, but the reality is a lot of stuff is contracting. A lot of businesses, the economy, it's really contracting. What does this mean for you, and what does this mean going forward? I am a very positive person. My outlook on these situations always tends to be positive. The reality, though, is we need to be very realistic with what is happening in the economy, one, how the government is handling, two, and where are we going. So what's happening, like we talked about, is the economy is contracting. We are going to see probably negative growth for 2 solid months, which puts us into a recession. The stock market is a yo-yo. One day it's up, next day it's down, and it's back up and down. It's going to continue to happen. The only way I see us breaking out of this really quickly is if a vaccine comes that is the vaccine and they can basically make enough of it. But vaccines take a long time. Even if one is in trial period, it still takes months to really make sure that it's safe for humans. So that being said, and really understanding all the craziness around what's going on right now, specifically in Canada and the US, North America, and really around the world, there's a lot of things happening, and everything is changing every day, right? Things are changing every single day. So what do you do? Well, excuse me. Number one, you can't panic, because panic doesn't lead to anything. People are out still panic buying, getting cases and cases of toilet paper and water and all this stuff. You got to stop. Like, right now is the time to show that we are compassionate human beings, not unlevel, not people that don't think before they do stuff. And we've done that for the last week and a half, 2 weeks. We've thought that like life is over and we need to go out and buy that last roll of toilet paper, it has to stop, people. It really has to stop. I don't understand what the mentality of it all is. I don't get it personally, but I mean, it has to stop. So number one, we need to become more compassionate and more towards being normal human beings. The stores are still open. The last place that's going to close, the very last place that's going to close, is grocery stores. The last place that's going to stop producing the food we eat are farms. This is the last place. There's a ton of different manufacturing plants that are going to remain open. I believe Ford, don't quote me on this is from another article, is going to remain open. Now, they're not producing food, but I want to use them as an example. If a worker has this disease, they shut down for 24 hours, they sanitize the heck out of the plants, and then they reopen. This is going to continue to happen, okay? So we need to stop being how we've been and start acting towards being normal human beings. I feel like I'm preaching at you, but the reality is a lot of you need to hear this message. And I'm not sitting up on a high horse and saying like I'm the role model. Quite the contrary. This is just what's happening in society. Okay. So number one, act like a normal human being. Number two, this virus, from what the experts say, is highly contagious. Who am I to deny that? It seems like a lot of people are getting this virus. That means we need to shut down and stop doing things in public necessarily. It's one thing if you're like, for example, we have a work site that there's like no one there, and if we have one or two people there, we can continue to work. The problem is if the suppliers start to shut down and we can't get material, then we can't work. Okay, but if you're working in an office, if you're working in public somewhere, if you have to commute to work, obviously the schools are closed. Like if all this stuff, we need to just contract a little bit in order to try and stop what they say is a massive spread of this virus. And I'm saying what they say is because I'm not a scientist, I'm not an expert on this, so I'm taking news source from one and having a conversation with you about the other. So we need to be diligent as human beings and as a population to just be normal. Be a normal human being. There was a lot of people in the real estate community specifically that at the beginning of this, they were like, business as usual, life's gonna go on, it's just a virus. It's like, okay, like we also deal with people on an everyday basis along with a lot of other businesses. We need to actually step back and take a look at what's going on in life, which we have, I think, and realize it's not just business as usual, right? It's not just business as usual. So, excuse me, that leads me to my next thing. I really, truly think we're going to enter a full-blown recession. I don't think I'm out of left field by talking about this. When we contract for 2 months, we enter a recession. We are going to be entering a recession. I think it's going to be different than the recessions we've seen in the past, specifically in 2008, because our banks are still liquid. They haven't made a bunch of stupid loans to people who can't afford them, meaning like over leveraged, even though we are highly leveraged. The banks have liquidity. They will continue to have liquidity because us, the taxpayer, are guaranteeing that through the government. So there is liquidity. While we will go into a full-blown recession, I think it will be the quickest turnaround out of a recession that we're going to see. Now, if this goes on for like a year, completely different story, and we'll have that conversation down the road. The reality is, this is going to keep going. And so we need to be diligent to stop the spread. We need to be good human beings. And then we have to be prepared for basically the worst, which is what we're going to be going through. So what does this mean? There isn't really a simple answer, and everybody's situation is different. And how you respond during a time of crisis says a lot about you as a person. We can be extremely terrified and go completely into the cellar, into the basement, into darkness and not want to come out, or we face it head on. Okay? How I've dealt with many challenging situations in the past, and I go through them every day just like you, is I face them head on. It is what it is. It is what it is, and we just keep moving forward, and we'll figure this out, and we're going to figure that out. But we got to be better human beings. Like, at the end of the day, we just got to be better human beings. So the government is supposed to help. We know how the government normally helps when really, my opinion is a lot of this money is going to get eaten up extremely quickly, like within a couple weeks. They're going to just have to keep redoing it. President Trump's talking about $1 trillion package. And in some cases, watching some of the stock guys on TV, they're talking like up to $4 trillion of stimulus money. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. The there's a lot of conspiracies floating around the internet too, and I'm not going to dive into them right now because I'm not really a conspiracy guy. But there's a lot of talk about how this could be a lot bigger than just a virus, and I don't necessarily not believe them. I think there's some stuff happening that might be out of our control. That and we'll, if you're interested and you want to talk about it, shoot me a DM. I'd love to chat about it. But the point of all this is get factual media, check your sources. And I'm not saying I'm a reliable source. I am interpreting media and putting it back out there. But get reliable information, get reliable sources. Stay diligent, take care of your family and friends. And honestly, we're going to get through this. I saw like a meme, I guess you could call it, going around saying that this isn't the biggest of deals. Our grandparents went off the war. We got to sit on a couch for a couple of weeks. And it's very true. This is like so minuscule in context of what's happened previous in our world. So minuscule. So do your part. Let's come together as a human population. Listen, we're humans, right? Let's start acting like it, okay? Corona beer, go drink it. It's delicious. Wash your hands. Drink responsibly. Over age of 18. Unofficial. I'm getting that sponsorship. Wash your hands, guys. Wash your hands. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Take care of yourself. Take care of your family. And we will be on real soon.